Hey guys, how are you? I'm here to tell you about a story that Hollywood would never tell, but worth many a movie. Yes, but before I get into the details, where am I right now? Well, we're essentially on what's known today as Liberty Square, with St. George slaying a dragon on top of a column. But it wasn't always that way. You might have just seen the information center on NATO and EU on this square. Also a fairly recent appearance. However, the capital of Georgia, Tiblisi at the time, before being named Lenin Square, was actually Yerevan Square. And our name that is of Armenian extraction, a town in Armenia. I'm going to tell you about a bank robbery. A bank robbery that took place here, that is a tale that should have launched many a film, but you're unlikely to ever see it make your mainstream media screens at any time. So, who were the people that were involved in a plot to rob Tiblisi Bank of a substantial amount of money? Well, I'm going to tell you a few of the names. Joseph Stalin, Lenin, Leonid Krazin, and one of their most violent little helpers, a man known only by alias name as Kamo, K-A-M-O. Stalin himself had many names, including Kabo, K-A-B-O. But Kamo was their ruthless murderer, regular criminal, and thief, and was intricately involved with the planning, along with Lenin, Stalin, for the great robbery of Tiblisi Bank. At the time, Stalin was around the mid-20s, him and Lenin, and they were part of what later became known as the Bolsheviks. In fact, this was the precursor to the Communist Party that had a split in it of Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. The Bolsheviks were the radical arm that were outvoted and sought aggressive violence, robbery, and murder as tools to gain power. The Mensheviks voted against these aggressive and criminal activities and wanted a revolution against the then ruling Russian Romanov emperor family of a more organized common people's revolt. The Bolsheviks, however, were radical, violent, and criminals, as you'll soon see. Despite being voted out, the Bolsheviks had secret meetings inside their larger Communist Party, unbeknownst to the Mensheviks, who were the majority. They planned to continue their aggressive and violent activities, and they sought money for arms. Lenin and Stalin were part of this. Stalin was on site and part of the robbery itself by most accounts. And in fact, as I detail this narrative, you're not going to believe the whole story. Stalin made a contact in the bank to find out when the highest amount of money would be coming. They got given the date, a date in June that was provided, when shipping money from the post office would be coming by carriage to Tiblisi Bank. Stalin, with all his accomplices, plotted what would be the big bank robbery that was going to fund them immensely towards their revolutionary goals. What transpired was fascinating. They made explosives. Kamo, one of the leading lights in the aggressive militaristic campaign of robberies and a regular thief, actually injured himself prior to the planned date on an explosive device that they'd put in a couch to bring to the square to take place where the robbery was done. They were moving in so many people and operatives around the square at the time. However, Stalin, being the double-dealing man that he was, also informed who was the police of that time, the Russian police of the emperor, that he had rumors that a major event would occur at some point in Tiblisi surrounding funds or banks. He was playing a clever double agent game to cover his tracks if in any sense he was rounded up with any other radicals in the event of the robbery going ahead. Anyway, what then occurred was the following. On the day of the robbery, they set off multiple explosions in and around Tiblisi Square. 40 people were killed, according to records, and horses and carriages were deeply damaged. In one such situation, one of the primary carriages with all the money, the horse bolted, dragging the carriage behind it, was Stalin and a number of his other operatives chasing and reining back that horse to grab the money and throw it into the phaeton that Stalin had come in on. Stalin had dressed up as in a military uniform, while the rest of his operatives were dressed as peasants. The money was thrown into Stalin's phaeton out of the van after all the explosions and fighting, and they charged off. In fact, a police carriage was coming the other way, and Stalin, in his uniform, had suggested for them to keep going. They will catch the criminals as they went past, and he got away with the money. This great robbery, with daring, murder, plotting and planning, led